The inheritance that changed everything. It started with a funeral I wasn't supposed to attend. My great-aunt Margaret had died at 89, and according to my family, I was too young to understand death. I was 16, but Margaret had been the only person who ever listened to me, who saw me as more than just the family disappointment. So I snuck out. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from. The funeral home was packed with relatives I barely knew, all dressed in black, whispering about Margaret's estate. My parents stood near the front, my mother clutching a tissue she never used, my father checking his phone every few minutes. They looked more anxious than grieved. I sat in the back, hoping no one would notice me. That's when I saw him, a man in an expensive suit talking quietly to my parents. He kept glancing at a folder in his hands. My mother's voice carried just enough for me to hear. "Are you sure there's nothing for us?" We were her closest living relatives. The man shook his head. "The will is very specific, Mrs. Davidson. Everything goes to Emma." My blood froze. Everything goes to Emma. That was me. My parents' faces went white. My father grabbed my mother's arm and pulled her aside. I could see them whispering furiously, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. The man in the suit was looking around the room, clearly searching for someone. After the service, I tried to approach my parents, but they brushed past me like I was invisible. "We need to get home," my mother said coldly. "There are things to discuss." The car ride was silent. Dead silent. My younger sister Sophie kept looking between our parents and me, sensing the tension but not understanding it. When we got home, they sent her to her room and told me to sit at the kitchen table. "Did you know?" my father asked, his voice sharp. "Know what? Don't play dumb with us," my mother snapped. "Margaret left you everything. Her house, her money, her investments. Everything." I stared at them. "I don't understand." "Neither do we," my father said. "You're 16. You can't even drive legally in some states, and she left you a fortune." My mother leaned forward. "What did you do? What did you say to her to make her change her will?" "I didn't do anything. I visited her. We talked." "About what?" my father demanded. "Books. Life. She told me stories about when she was young." My parents exchanged a look. "Stories about what?" my mother asked. "About her travels, her work, her regrets. She said family wasn't always the people you were born with." The look on my mother's face could have cut glass. She was a bitter old woman who never had children of her own. She was jealous of what we built. "She wasn't bitter," I said quietly. "She was lonely. Because no one ever visited her except me." My father slammed his hand on the table. "You're 16. You don't need that kind of money. You don't even know what to do with it." "Actually," a voice said from the doorway. "That's exactly why Margaret chose her." We all turned. The man in the suit was standing in our kitchen. My mother jumped up. "How did you get in here?" The door was unlocked. "I'm James Crawford, Margaret's attorney. I've been trying to reach Emma." My parents stepped protectively in front of me. "She's a minor," my mother said. "Anything regarding her inheritance goes through us." Mr. Crawford smiled. "Actually, no. Margaret was very specific about that. Emma, I need to speak with you privately." "She's not going anywhere," my father said. "I'm afraid she is," Mr. Crawford replied calmly. Margaret anticipated this reaction. She left very detailed instructions about how her estate should be handled, including provisions for Emma's protection. He opened his folder and pulled out a document. "This is a court order granting Emma temporary emancipation for the purpose of managing her inheritance." It was pre-approved by Judge Harrison based on Margaret's petition. My mother's face went red. "You can't just steal our daughter." "I'm not stealing anyone. I'm executing the wishes of a woman who saw something special in Emma and wanted to give her the tools to succeed." Mr. Crawford turned to me. "Emma, your great-aunt left you her house, her investment portfolio worth approximately $2.3 million, and a trust fund that will provide for your education and living expenses. But there's a condition." "What condition?" I asked. "You have to choose. You can stay here with your parents and forfeit the inheritance, or you can accept it and move into Margaret's house under the supervision of a court-appointed guardian until you turn 18. My parents erupted. "This is insane," my father shouted. "You can't bribe a child to abandon her family." "I'm not bribing anyone," Mr. Crawford said. "I'm offering Emma a choice." Margaret believed that Emma deserved the freedom to choose her own path, not have it chosen for her. I looked at my parents. At their angry faces, their obvious disappointment that I was getting something they felt they deserved. at the way they were talking about me like I wasn't even there. What did the note say? I asked suddenly. Mr. Crawford looked surprised. What note? Margaret always left me notes when I visited. Little pieces of paper with quotes or advice. Did she leave me a note? He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. She said to give this to you only if you asked about it. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was Margaret's careful handwriting. Emma, the most important thing I learned in 89 years is that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about love, respect, and believing in each other's dreams. I hope this gives you the freedom to find your real family and become who you're meant to be. Choose wisely, my dear. Choose yourself. I looked up at my parents. They were watching me with a mixture of desperation and anger. Emma, my mother said, her voice softer now, you can't seriously be considering this. We're your family. We love you. Do you? I asked. Because 5 minutes ago you were accusing me of manipulating an old woman for money. We were just shocked, my father said. We didn't mean it, but I could see it in their eyes. They didn't see me as their daughter who had been given an incredible gift. They saw me as someone who had stolen something that should have been theirs. I need time to think, I said. There's no time, my mother said desperately. He's trying to take you away from us right now. Actually, Mr. Crawford said, Emma has 48 hours to decide. But if she chooses to accept the inheritance, the transition needs to happen quickly. Margaret's house has been prepared for her arrival. That night, I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling. I thought about Margaret, about the afternoons we spent together, about how she never once made me feel like I was bothering her or taking up her time. She asked about my dreams, my fears, my hopes for the future. She listened when I talked about wanting to be a writer, about feeling invisible in my own family. I thought about my parents, about how they had never shown any interest in my writing, how they always seemed surprised when I did well in school, how they made it clear that Sophie was the important one, the one with potential. The next morning, I found my parents in the kitchen with a stack of papers. We've been thinking, my mother said. Maybe we can work something out. You could accept the inheritance, but sign it over to us for safekeeping until you're older. That's not how it works, I said. And that's not what Margaret wanted. Margaret was a selfish old woman who never understood what it meant to be part of a real family, my father said. She filled your head with nonsense about choosing your own path. This is your path. This is your family. I looked at them, really looked at them. Margaret understood family better than anyone. She chose me. She saw something in me that you never did. Don't be ridiculous, my mother said. We see plenty in you. Like what? They were quiet for a moment. Then my father said, You're our daughter. That's enough. But it wasn't enough. Not anymore. I called Mr. Crawford that afternoon. I've made my decision. 2 days later, I was standing in Margaret's house, my house, with my suitcase and my laptop. The court-appointed guardian, Mrs. Rodriguez, was a kind woman who had worked with emancipated minors before. She made it clear that I would have support, but also independence. My parents didn't come to see me off. They were too angry, too humiliated by what they saw as my betrayal. Sophie cried and promised to visit, but I knew they wouldn't let her. The first few months were hard. I finished high school online while learning to manage my inheritance. Margaret had been smart with her money, and Mr. Crawford helped me understand the investments and trust funds. I discovered that she had been supporting several scholarship programs for young writers. I started college at 17, majoring in journalism and creative writing. I used Margaret's money not just for my education, but to expand her scholarship programs. I wanted to help other kids who felt invisible, who had dreams that no one else believed in. My parents tried to contact me a few times. They sent letters asking for money, claiming financial hardship. They had Sophie call me, crying about how they might lose the house. But I remembered Margaret's note. Choose yourself. I chose myself. By the time I was 20, I had started a nonprofit organization for young writers. By 25, I was a published author with 3 novels under my belt. By 30, I was running a foundation that had helped hundreds of kids pursue their dreams despite family opposition. I never forgot what Margaret taught me, that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about love, respect, and believing in each other's dreams. The real twist came when I was 32. I was at a book signing when a young woman approached me. She looked nervous, holding one of my novels. Excuse me, she said. Are you Emma Davidson? I hadn't used that name in years. I was. Now I'm Emma Crawford. I took my great-aunt's lawyer's name when he adopted me. She smiled. I'm your sister, Sophie. I'm 21 now. I stared at her. She had grown up beautiful, but there was something sad in her eyes. Sophie, how did you find me? It took years of searching. Mom and Dad never wanted me to contact you. They said you had abandoned the family, that you were selfish and ungrateful. What do you think? I asked. She looked around the crowded bookstore, at the line of people waiting for me to sign their books, at the poster advertising my latest novel. I think you became exactly who you were meant to be. We talked for hours that night. She told me about how our parents had become bitter over the years, how they blamed me for every financial problem they had. She told me about their constant criticism, their disappointment in everything she did. They never forgave you for choosing Margaret over them, she said. But I understand why you did it. I've read your books. I've seen what you've built. You couldn't have done any of that if you had stayed. What about you? I asked. What do you want to do? Her face lit up. I want to be a teacher. I want to help kids who feel like they don't matter. I smiled. That sounds like something Margaret would have loved. A month later, Sophie moved in with me. She was officially estranged from our parents, but she had found her real family. She finished college with the help of one of Margaret's scholarship programs, and she's now teaching at an inner-city school. Our parents never contacted us again. I heard through distant relatives that they had moved to a smaller house, that they were still angry, still blaming me for ruining their lives. But I had learned from Margaret that you can't save people who don't want to be saved. Sometimes I visit Margaret's grave. I bring her flowers and tell her about the foundation, about Sophie, about all the kids we've helped. I thank her for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And I remember what she wrote in that last note. Choose yourself. It was the best advice anyone ever gave me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from.